for the 2022 Blue Collar Football League Championship game as the Cincinnati Dukes hosted the Cin-City Buccaneers at Walnut Hills High School in Cincinnati, Ohio. The Dukes made it as the number 1 seed in the East, earning a first-round bye before defeating the Columbus Gladiators 22-14 in the Eastern Conference Finals, advancing to their first ever championship game. The Bucs were the number 3 seed in the West, defeating the Indiana Cutters on the road 20-4 in the first round before knocking off the Indiana Tornadoes at home 13-6 in the West Conference Championship game. The Dukes and Bucs had met 4 times previously, with only one of those meetings being decided by more than 6 points. That was last year's West Conference Championship game, in which the Bucs defeated the Dukes 27-12 on their way to winning the 2021 BCFL Championship. When the two teams met earlier this year on July 30th, the game ended in a 6-6 tie on this very same field. On the game's first play from scrimmage, Brett Robinson took a swing pass from Kamani Murray and brought it out 12 yards, taking the Dukes to the 41-yard line. A sack moved the Dukes back, but then Murray connected with Al Grace for 19 yards into Bucs territory. Facing a 3rd and 7, Murray found Tay White, who pulled down the 22-yard pass down to the Bucs 22-yard line. And then on 3rd and 17, Murray found a sliding Darion Brown for 26 yards down to the Bucs 3-yard line. But on the next play, Ontario Williams knocked the ball loose and recovered it at the 5-yard line. And after a 10-play drive that covered 66 yards, lasted nearly 6 minutes, not only did the Dukes come away with no points, but a penalty moved the ball out to the 20-yard line. The Bucs faced a 3rd and 1 when Greg Johnson found his way for 6 yards and a first down, with another penalty on the Dukes, moving the ball out to midfield. Then Cincinnati faced a 3rd and 2 when Antonio Davis found Deion Johnson for 9 yards and a first down. Facing another 3rd down, Davis surveyed the field before finding Kurt Johnson, but he was stopped 2 yards short, bringing up 4th down. On the next play, it was Davis to Johnson again, and this time the 3 yards was good for first down that kept the drive going into the second quarter. 2 minutes into the second quarter, Davis fired a strike to Marcus Commodore for a 10-yard touchdown, capping a 14-play, 80-yard drive that took up 11 minutes and 21 seconds. The extra point was no good, but the Bucs still led 6-0. The Dukes' next drive was not nearly as long. After an offsides penalty, Daniel Ferguson picked off a pass over the middle and brought it back through the Dukes defense, finally being brought down by Murray after a 44-yard return to the Dukes' 20-yard line. The Bucs got pushed back into a 4th and 14. That's when Davis stepped up. He hit Kurt Johnson, but Lamont Dixon was there to meet him first, and then Howard Tidwell cleaned things up, stopping him short of the first down, giving the ball back to the Dukes on downs. The Dukes went 3 and out and punted the ball back to the Bucs, who faced a 4th and 3 themselves when Davis found Kurt Johnson again for 7 yards and a first down at the Dukes' 29-yard line. A tackle for loss and penalty resulted in a 3rd and 31 situation for the Bucs at the 2-minute warning, but Davis got half of that back, finding Deion Johnson for 16 yards on 3rd down. And on 4th down, Davis was able to slip a sack before finding Dante Jackson for 16 yards and the first down at the Dukes' 18-yard line. Following 2 incomplete passes, Davis found Tyree Davis. He picked up 10 yards before getting out of bounds at the 8, setting up a 1st and goal with 27 seconds left in the first half. But that Davis was incomplete to Tyree Davis. Davis again incomplete looking for Davis. On 3rd down, Davis couldn't connect with Kurt Johnson in the end zone. And on 4th down, Davis's pass was tipped at the line of scrimmage by Lamar Taborn, resulting in a turnover and downs that the Dukes had held, and at halftime, the Buccaneers' lead remained 6-0. The Buccaneers controlled much of the first half, running 33 plays to just 15 for the Dukes, leading to a nearly 12-minute edge in time of possession. It helped that the Bucs were also 3 for 5 on fourth down, while the Dukes had just 2 rushing yards and 2 turnovers. For Cin-City, Antonio Davis threw for 100 yards, completing 11 of 20 passes. Kurt Johnson was the leading receiver with 5 catches for 34 yards, and Greg Johnson the leading rusher with 6 carries for 13 yards. For the Dukes, Murray was 4 of 7 passing for 79 yards. No receiver had more than 1 catch, although Darion Brown led the team with 26 receiving yards, and Murray was the lead rusher with 2 yards. Lamont Dixon and Sean Sullivan both recorded 7 tackles for the Dukes in the first half, with Sullivan also recording 3 tackles for loss. On the first play from scrimmage in the second half, following a penalty, Dante Jackson burst his way through the Dukes defense for 12 yards. The Bucs were able to convert that first down, but then Davis had trouble handling the low snap, and Sir Abernathy was there to fall on it for the Dukes, giving them the ball at their own 41-yard line. The Dukes already had 1 first down when Murray found Justin Cornwall, who slipped through the Bucs defense for 18 yards down to the 21-yard line. The drive continued, and the Dukes had a second and goal at the 4-yard line when Brent Robinson looked headed for a touchdown before being stood up by Daniel Ferguson at the goal line, set up 3rd and goal from the 1. On the next play, Ty White lined up at quarterback, but once again Ferguson was there to lead the charge as he was quickly surrounded and eventually stopped for a 7-yard loss at the 8-yard line. Murray went back to quarterback for the 4th down play, but his pass for Lamar Taborn was broken up by Jaquan Jackson, and the drive ended with the Bucs still leading 6-0. The Dukes defense held, and a short punt set them up at the 16-yard line. That's when Robinson broke through the right side. He would not be stopped this time and made it in for the 16-yard touchdown. And just like it was when they met earlier this season, the score was tied 6-6. This time, it would not take long for that tie to get resolved, as Murray connected with Cornwall for the 2-point conversion that had the Dukes ahead 8-6 with 3 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. Cin-City looked to answer, and with 1 first down already behind them, Davis found Jackson with a short pass, and he worked ahead for 12 yards in the Dukes territory with not 1, but 2 penalties on the Dukes, moving the ball further down to the 18-yard line. The Bucs took advantage 2 plays later as Davis found Commodore. He spun and leapt into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown of the game just as time ran out in the 3rd quarter. And on the final play of the quarter, it was Davis again to Commodore for the 2-point conversion. Commodore had all 14 points as the Bucs led 14-8 heading into the 4th quarter. The Bucs stopped the Dukes on downs at midfield to start the 4th quarter, but on 2nd down, Cin-City had trouble with the handoff. Fortunately, Greg Johnson was there for the recovery to avoid the turnover. On the next play, Davis stepped up and scrambled, finding Dante Jackson. He slipped 1 tackle, split 2 defenders, and he was on his way to make it into the end zone for a 51-yard touchdown. The extra point was blocked, but the Buccaneers' lead was 20-8 with 10:21 left in the 4th quarter. The Dukes faced the 3rd down in midfield themselves when Murray fired a pass. Tovion Spikes hauled it in. He had just 1 catch in the regular season, but this one was going to go for a 56-yard touchdown. And on the 2-point play that followed, Murray found Brown in the back of the end zone, cutting the Bucs lead to 4, 20-16, with just under 9 minutes remaining in the championship game. The Dukes kept their momentum going on the kickoff after fielding a bouncing kick. Leandre Pope was able to pry the ball loose. Aubrey Harris was there to pounce on it. And once the referees got to the bottom of the pile, The Dukes had the ball at the Buccaneers' 34-yard line, needing just a touchdown to take the lead. A pair of runs by Britt Robinson helped the Dukes get one first down, but then DeAndre Riley hit BJ Jr. as he was trying to pull in the handoff. Daniel Ferguson was there to recover for the Buccaneers, and they held on to their 4-point lead with 7 minutes remaining in the championship game. A pair of runs by the Buccaneers left them with a 3rd and 6, but then Davis went to the air. He found Deion Johnson for 12 yards and a first down. With under 4 minutes remaining, Marcus Commodore holding a pass from Davis. He picked up 8 yards and another first down at the Dukes' 47-yard line. And on 3rd and 6, Davis looked for Tyrus Williams. Kayvon Burnett stepped in front of the pass, picking it off for the Dukes, giving them a chance to go in for the game-winning drive at their own 45-yard line with 1:45 remaining in the championship game. On the Dukes' first play, Kamani Murray looks for Tay White, but Jaquan Jackson is there to intercept it just as he did against the Indiana Tornadoes to seal that victory. He's weaving his way through the Dukes. White is finally going to bring him down inside the 5-yard line, but the Dukes are out of timeouts, so the Bucs can start to celebrate. They are going to win the 2022 BCFL Championship. All that was left was for the Bucs to kneel out the clock and run out the remaining minute 28 in the game, and they could celebrate becoming the BCFL's first ever back-to-back champions, defeating the Dukes 20-16. The Bucs maintained their statistical advantage in most categories, including finishing with a over 16-minute edge in time of possession, although 3 second-half turnovers did aid the Dukes' cause. The Dukes turned it over 2 more times in the second half, finishing -1 in turnover differential. The Buccaneers also were 6 of 13 on 3rd down and remained 3 for 5 on 4th down, while the Dukes were 3 for 7 on 3rd down and 0 for 2 on 4th down. Marcus Commodore was named the game's MVP, finishing with 4 catches for 42 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had a 2-point conversion, accounting for 14 of the Buccaneers' 20 points in the game. Dante Jackson finished as both the leading rusher with 6 carries for 34 yards and the leading receiver with 5 receptions for 82 yards and a touchdown. Greg Johnson was just 1 yard behind Jackson with 13 carries for 33 yards, while Kurt Johnson matched Jackson with 5 catches, finishing with 34 yards. Antonio Davis with 20 of 31 passing for 215 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Daniel Ferguson was the defensive player of the game with 6 tackles, 1 for a loss, a fumble recovery, and an interception. 4 other Buccaneers had 4 tackles. DeAndre Riley, who also had a forced fumble, Ontario Williams, who had a forced fumble and a fumble recovery, Jerome Mitchell, who also had a sack, and Edward Hahn. And Jaquan Jackson had the game-clinching interception for the 2nd straight game. For the Dukes, Kamani Murray was 10 of 19 passing for 168 yards and a touchdown. Tay White was the leading receiver with 4 catches for 37 yards. Meanwhile, Darion Brown had 2 catches for 26 yards, and Justin Cornwall was held to 1 catch for 18 yards. Kovion Spikes had the most receiving yards with his 56-yard touchdown catch. Brent Robinson was the leading rusher with 12 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown. On defense, Sean Sullivan finished with a team-high 10 tackles, 3 of them for a loss. Lamont Dixon had 9 tackles and blocked an extra point. Howard Tidwell had 6 tackles. Lamar Taborn had 4 tackles, 2 for a loss, 1 sack. batted down a pass and had a 50-yard punt. Kayvon Burnett had 3 tackles, including the interception in the fourth quarter and blocked an extra point. And Aubrey Harris and Sir Abernathy both recovered fumbles for the Dukes. But ultimately, it was the Buccaneers who earned the right to hoist the trophy as the 2022 Blue Collar Football League champions.